Spoilers for the JJK movie and some stuff for the manga. The duality of Yuji and Yuta. To start off, Yuta is a man who wants his life to have value by helping people and also releasing a curse, but this is all just a very lie in itself, since he's the one who cursed her instead of what everyone else thought, which was she cursed him. Meanwhile, Yuji, who comes from a much more normal background, is put into this world to help people and give his life a bigger meaning or painting a bigger picture. Whereas Yuta is trying that as well, but the very foundation of the painting is just tainted from the get-go, which separates the two of them. Yuji even says how they are polar opposites when they first meet in the manga, and Yuta, even before everything, was someone who was so hesitant about everything and sort of, a loser? Whereas Yuji was just running aimlessly into danger for the sake of helping people out. Now, Yuta does grow from this, but it doesn't change from the fact that he still is very different from Itadori, as by this point he is far more experienced and just way more mature. It's like Yuta started all this for a more selfish reason, whereas Yuji seemed a lot more independent and selfless. And notice how from the get-go, Yuta was already on a downward spiral, but he managed to actually become a sorcerer, and that helped him break his curse. Whereas with Yuji, he thinks being a sorcerer will help him, but by the end of Shibuya, it's really just a question in itself if this is all really worth it. Like, Yuji's mental just goes on a downward spiral all because of this menace Mahito. And to prove this even further, Yuta constantly relies on Rika, his strongest curse, and embracing the worst parts of himself. Whereas Itadori, whose morale is always put to the test, and despite him going through these mental breaking situations, he always comes back on top and always relies on his human nature. Because Yuji's humanity is one of the only things that are really keeping him going at this point. That's not to say Yuta doesn't care about his friends, because that's not true, but his very reasoning for becoming a sorcerer was because of Rika and him wanting his life to have some value. Whereas Itadori is just trying to do the best thing he can, as that's what his grandpa would have wanted. And also, notice how Yuta embraces this twisted love with Rika while Yuji does everything he can to keep Sukuna in control. Like, over the course of the series, Yuji gets stronger and stronger, and Sukuna rarely comes out. And I think another parallel that we should go over is their introduction. And what I mean by this is, this man Yuta was fine with being executed initially when we first see him. He wanted to literally put his life to an end, whereas Yuji was forced into this position, but despite this, he was going to live with no regrets. And to think these two characters that were portrayed to be polar opposites were once in the same position. And mind you, this is in the same series where we have a panda talking about titties. That's insane.